Welcome back to Face the Nation. Following President Trump's seemingly successful meeting last week with Chinese leader Xi Jinping, Mr. Trump declared himself by tweet to be a tariff man. That word set the stage for some stock market turmoil. Major U.S. market indices took about a 4% plunge, and there are other uncertainties weighing on the markets, including questions about American interest rates. We'd like to now welcome to Face the Nation Ambassador Robert Lighthizer to the broadcast. He is the U.S. Trade Representative, obviously a very key voice in these talks. But I want to quickly get to a matter of domestic politics first. The New York Times is reporting that you are one of the candidates being considered for the Chief of Staff job to step into the role being vacated by John Kelly. Is that a job you want?
I mean, let me say, first of all, I love John Kelly. In your whole life, you won't meet 50 people with his qualities of character and grit and determination and devotion. And so I really think he's done a great job for the president. Having said that, now the president has given me what is a very difficult job. I'm very, very happy doing it. And if I focus on it entirely, there's some reasonable chance I'll get it done well. So I'm flattered that the president wants me to be United States Trade Representative, working closely with him, and I hope to accomplish the goals that he set out for me in that job.
Well, you've got a big job, but just to be clear, has anyone at the White House talked to you about Chief of Staff?
No.
So what I'm hearing from you is you're not interested in the job.
I haven't spoken to anyone. I'm entirely focused on what I'm trying to do, and it's difficult enough.
It is. Let's get into that then. Today, we heard from Beijing that they have summoned the United States ambassador and demanded some answers about this question regarding Chinese telecom company Huawei and one of their top executives who was taken into custody in Canada this week at U.S. request. How is all of this going to impact the talks that you're leading?
Well, it's my view that it shouldn't really have much of an impact. I can understand from the Chinese perspective how they would see it that way. This is a criminal justice matter. It is totally separate from anything that I work on or anything that the trade policy people in the administration work on. So for us, it's unrelated. It's criminal justice. We have a lot of very big, very important issues. We've got serious people working on them, and I don't think they'll be affected by this.
Has President Trump offered that, comfort to President Xi? I mean, has he talked to him after the CFO of Huawei was taken into custody?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because for Beijing, since they have direct interest in this company, and they're warning there are going to be consequences, many are wondering if this adds up to essentially a threat that it could impact the talks.
It's entirely a criminal justice matter. It has nothing to do with anything I'm working on.
So you do have talks scheduled to begin when?
We have conversations ongoing. We have had conversations ongoing for over a year on these matters, and they will continue. We have phone calls, and we'll set up other meetings. There's been a lot going on over the time. I really think with all this talk about a trade war, it's important to pull back for a second and say that trade really has increased very much in the last year. It's not down, it's up. Exports are really up. Imports are up, which I'm not as happy about, but imports are up. Trade is up. The United States is very much engaged in trade and doing so very successfully at this time.
This isn't just any trade negotiation, though. This is the world's two largest economies who are locked in this dispute at the moment. So one of the biggest sticking points here has been China's, it's accused of intellectual property theft. It's been accused of this for years and years and years. The president says he wants to maintain U.S. dominance in technology. So what exactly do the Chinese need to do for you to come to agreement? So
let's just put on the table a little bit of background. China has a policy of theft of intellectual property from American and other companies, from forced technology transfer and from cyber theft, and then state capitalism to buy up technology. Technology is the most important advantage that Americans have economically. We are innovators and we are excellent at technology. So you have a policy from China that's designed really to get at this technology on non-economic grounds, and it is one of the most important elements of the U.S. So the president said, do a study to us at USTR. We did a whole of government study. We spent 8 months. We came out with a report. The president then put in place tariffs in order to get China to change this policy. It's extremely important that China does that it opens its market and that it takes these steps. So what
They've promised to do things like that before. This is an inherent part of the Chinese business model.
You are completely right.
So why would they change now?
The first time this came up was 1991 under the presidency of George Herbert Walker Bush. In the last 6 years of the Obama administration alone, they made 10 independent claims or commitments to get rid of some of these things. I believe the reason is now this president has a determination that past presidents have not had. He realizes the seriousness of it. We've followed a different strategy. It's not just a dialogue strategy. It's a strategy of tariffs and taking hard lines. And this president is determined. In addition to that, I think he has a very good relationship with President Xi, and I think that will be another positive factor. But in this case, what we need structural changes, and we need market opening. So we need agricultural sales and manufacturing sales and the like, and we need structural changes on this fundamental issue of non-economic technology transfer.
And what happens if they don't agree to that, as these sweeping changes? I mean, should the U.S. consider a ban on Chinese technology companies? I mean, you had Senator Marco Rubio on this program saying that he wants to introduce legislation in the new Congress to do something like that.
Well, right now, the way this is set up is that at the end of 90 days, and once again, this is, as you say, years, but even in our case, over a year of negotiations. At the end of 90 days, these tariffs will be raised on $200 billion from 10% to 25% if we don't get a satisfactory solution. My hope right now is to focus on that. If there's a deal to be done, we'll make it. The president wants us to make a deal. But as you say, it has to be verifiable. It has to be monitored. It can't be just vague promises like we've seen over the last 25 years.
So you have until March, but you could extend these talks. That's not a hard deadline.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a hard deadline. When I talk to the President of the United States, he's not talking about going beyond March. He's talking about getting a deal. If there's a deal to be gotten, we want to get it in the next 90 days.
The tariffs you're talking about don't have to do with technology, though. In the technology space, will you take action against Chinese firms? Should we expect more actions like the arrest of the Huawei CFO? I know you say that the crime doesn't directly link here, but there are those who say Chinese telecom should be completely banned from American companies.
Well, it's not my position that we should ban telecom from China into the United States. It certainly is true that there will be continuing criminal justice matters that'll go on, that'll come up. There's been a number of indictments. There's been a number of actions in this space generally. For me, those are separate. They're separate from the negotiations. We're looking for structural change and we're looking for market access. That's what we're looking for. The criminal justice process will continue. We have an independent system, as you know, in this country.
So when the markets open tomorrow, can they be reassured that these talks with Beijing are happening and that you're making progress?
They can be reassured that if there is a deal that can be made that will require or assure the protection of U.S. technology, the very heartbeat of all of our economy. It's not just technology. It's everything from services to manufacturing. Even farming is a technology industry now in the United States. We will protect that technology and get additional market access from China. If that can be done, the president wants us to do it. If not, we'll have tariffs.
That is a very big if.
Well, we'll see. Certainly, it is a very important matter, and there's a long history of having things not work out. So you're right.
Very quickly, the free trade deal you did renegotiate, which is with Mexico and Canada, the USMCA, new NAFTA. How quickly will that move through Congress? Well,
there's a process under the Trade Promotion Authority, so I'm expecting in the next months that it will have a vote on. I would say this
in the new year.
Certainly within the next few months. This is the strongest and best trade agreement the United States has ever negotiated. It's the biggest. It's $1.2 trillion worth of economy, worth of trade. It's the best on labor. It's the best on manufacturing. The IP protections are unheard of in the past. We have currency provisions in there. We have this whole digital trade, financial services. There's a lot of very, very important innovation in here, built on things that people have done in the past. It's the most far-reaching agreement the United States has ever negotiated, and I believe will be a model for future negotiations.
When will the president withdraw from the existing NAFTA that he has said he's going to do?
We'll see that. That's a decision. It's up to the president of the United States.
All right. Thank you very much for coming on. Ambassador, we'll be right back on Face the Nation with the Managing Director of the IMF, Christine Lagarde.